Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Greg Furman and this is the Forex Weekly Outlook for the week of March the 26th, 2018. Now, to get started this week, we're going to begin where we always do with the all-important US dollar index. Now, just a quick reminder, we've got a holiday short week next week. We're not going to see, I don't think, a lot of big moves, but rather a lot of range trading. So when we look at this through the eyes of VantagePoint, right now, the dollar index, in my respectful opinion, is at a make or break level here in a very tight channel sitting right around this 89 mark. Now, the dollar's come under significant selling pressure yet again, largely because of the tariffs, the issues with China, but that's a whole nother issue. When we look at the predicted differences, they're all moving lower, basically how VantagePoint measures the trend. Now, when we look at the predicted MACD, we're holding and all tangled up around this zero line. So it's just a question right now as to whether or not the dollar index can maintain any kind of strength whatsoever. But looking at the predicted RSI, clearly under trouble, in significant trouble. Now, once again, in my respectful opinion, gold is one of the main culprits here too. Gold is pushing consistently higher off of this VantagePoint 18-day predicted moving average, coming in at right now for next week 1331. We're moving aggressively higher. Now the top of that range coming in around the 1377 mark, so we want to be a little bit cautious there. When we look at how all of this is affecting the global equity markets, we've had another big sell-off down here. Now, our range is very clearly easy to identify here, guys. We're up here around the 2880 mark. The lower part of that range down around 2530. Looks like we are moving down here. Now, after this big move down, we've had a retracement up to a double top here, and now we've broken that again, but you'll notice that it's broken this retracement point here too, sending the equities, making for several very, very attractive trades here. Now, one thing that is interesting is that the fact that the equity markets are selling off, but oil continues to push higher. Now, significant resistance up towards this 66.80 mark. Not sure if we'll break free and clear of there or not yet, but one thing for sure is all of these things are having an absolutely positive effect on pairs like Euro-US. When we look at Euro-US, we've been tangled up in this channel here, basically range trading between 125.50 and 121.50, but with a clear bias higher, with the double bottom put in place last week just above 122.50. We've accelerated all the way up to the 123.80 mark, but then subsequently pulling back, but we're holding firm on the week. 123.20, that's the area to watch next week. And remember, we're in a holiday short week. We're likely just going to see a lot of these currencies just wander back and forth. There isn't going to be a lot of big moves unless we get something out of that Trump White House yet again, which hopefully we don't, and things just start to calm down a little bit. Now, as we look at some of our other main pairs here, looking at British pound, US dollar, I'm going to skip over US Swiss franc because basically I'm going to talk about that more in a minute when I look at dollar yen and explain that a little bit more. But right now, with the British pound, US dollar, we've had a good move up off the dollar weakness, the trend line break. The key levels coming in 139.83. That's our downside pivot area, followed by 140.45 and 140.99. We still have a firm close at 140.130, but I want to see a clean break of 141.50. This little resistance zone, we've got a little bit of a double top going on right here. We had one little poke up above it, but we need to break free and clear of this particular area. Now, to determine that, one of the things that I would look for is looking a little closer at those VantagePoint indicators, and we are getting a little bit overbought here, so I'm not convinced that this is the perfect time to buy this. We could see some weakness here as we're starting to lose a bit of strength on the predicted differences, and again, we are moving into overbought territory. Now, with dollar yen here, dollar yen, I've talked about this one probably for what seems like months for you guys. Pretty boring, just sell, 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 right? And that's really worked extremely well. Going back to the original VantagePoint signal that was all the way back at the beginning, the first week of the new trading year. Guys, VantagePoint came out with that short right off the bat. We've had multiple retracements here. You can see too many actually to even count, and we've gone down yet again. So in a risk-off environment, this pair doesn't stand a chance. It's absolutely going lower. Now, if Trump flip-flops and he goes back to saying, oh, he's going to back off China a bit, then this pair will turn around. But right now, the main indicators are not supportive of that. They're supportive of further downside here, guys. So selling into a rally anywhere near these VantagePoint pivot areas from 105.13 up to 106.24, that basic 100 pip zone is your sell zone area, and I would watch it very closely. Now, looking at our commodity currencies this week, no doubt that CAD has had a big sell-off off of this most recent top here above 131. However, what I will point out here is that this sell-off was not caused necessarily because of demand for Canadian dollars, but more about US dollar weakness, and furthermore about rising oil prices. Oil broke out to the top side, and when we look at the light sweet crude oil, as it broke higher, that immediately sent the US dollar Canadian pair lower. That global intermarket correlation to oil contracts and the Canadian dollar is still firmly in place here, guys. So if oil starts to sell off near that top that I talked about, then US Canada will reverse higher. Now, we're closing the week very low, just slightly below that key VantagePoint pivot area of 129.06. We've closed 128.92, so that's not the ultra bearish close that I would be looking for. But when we look closer at the VantagePoint indicators, we can see right now that the predicted RSI after a big move down is starting to flatten out. The predicted MACD still firmly above the zero line, but warning of further weakness. And the long-term predicted difference is still sitting right on the zero line here, guys. So it's not a confirmed sell here. Not that it's not a confirmed sell, but as whether there's going to be further Canadian dollar strength will be determined by oil and to some degree gold prices and some of your other commodities. So keep an eye on those ones very closely. Now, looking at the Aussie-US currency pair, the overall broad range between 75 and the 81.60 mark still firmly in place. So we're coming down into a very strong buy zone down here, guys. It's very unlikely that the US dollar will make any long-term gains against the Aussie currency. So right now, we've got a strong trend line coming in at 76.80. Longs carry a very, very slight edge here. But when we look at the indicators from VantagePoint, what they're saying right now, the neural index is still pointing down, but the medium term crossing the long-term predicted difference back to the upside is a classic warning sign. We can see that same signal right here last month at almost the exact same time, and that led to a significant rally on the Aussie currency. So if gold and commodities keep moving higher, chances are the Aussie is likely to follow. Now, with New Zealand this week, once again here, we're in a very firm range between basically 71.60 and the upper part of that range at 74.45. Now, we're trying to close above this key VantagePoint level, but it's definitely been struggling. Now, that critical level is coming in at 72.56. We've closed the week at 72.33, just below it, but we're challenging it 2 days in a row. Thursday and Friday trading of last week, the neural index being positive, and there's that same signal. If we look at the VantagePoint medium term crossing the long-term predicted difference back to the upside, a rising RSI, all of this points towards higher gold prices and likely higher prices on or stronger commodity-based currencies. So with that said, this is the Forex Weekly Outlook for the week of March the 26th, 2018. And again, my name is Greg Furman.